Bob, your picture disappeared. Did you know that?
No, I don't know how to get it up there.
It should be it looks like a video button. I think that'll do it. It's the button at the bottom where the put your phone down one is, the microphone one on this screen. Yeah, it's come back now.
You got it?
And then it's disappeared again. I think you pushed it. Oh, yeah, it's come back. Okay. Okay, let's offer respect to the spiritual master. Om Jnanatimandasya Garanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmanatam Yaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Who's ready to read the English?
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Okay. So who knows where we're up to? That's the question.
Were we 32? 630.
No, I don't think as far as 32.
631.
31, I'm thinking. Was it 31 if we got that far?
I don't think we finished the whole verse. I mean, purport.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't read the purport. So we're on 31. So yes, reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, entitled Jnana Yoga, text 31. So we're continuing that from last week, and we'll go through the purport today, but we'll read the verse again for text 31. Sava bhuta stitam yomam.
Sarva bhuta stitam yoman.
Bhajatye kadvamastita.
Bhajaste kritmavastita.
So you remember from last week that Y at the end of bhajati, you add the Y onto ekatvam. So you go bhajat yekat bhajat yekatvam.
Bhajate.
So it becomes bhajat yekatvam. Okay, so let's start again. Sava bhuta stitam yomam.
Sarva bhuta stitam yoman.
Bhajat ye katvamastita.
Bhajate katvamastita.
Sarvatavatmanopi.
Sarvathavatmanopi.
Sayogi mai vatate.
Sayogi vivattate.
And we'll do it again. Sarva bhuta stitam yomam.
Sarva bhuta stitam yomam.
Bhajat ye katvamastita.
Bhajate katvamastita.
Sarvatavatmanopi.
Sarvathavatmanopi.
Sayogi mai vartate.
Sayogi mai vartate.
Okay, Bhakti Mala, would you like to read the translation, please?
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances.
Okay, so such a yogi. So this is following on from the previous verses, explaining what a yogi is. So what is a yogi? What's the vision of a yogi? Who remembers? Two things. What's the vision of a yogi?
One's to serve Krishna.
control their senses.
Definitely yogi serves Krishna, yeah, but specifically in regards to the vision, how a yogi sees things. So what does a yogi see?
He sees Krishna everywhere and everything in Krishna, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. So sees Krishna within everything and everything within Krishna. So it means that Krishna is so great that all the universes are within Krishna. Just like when Mother Yashoda looked in Krishna's mouth, what did she see? She saw the whole universe and herself looking in Krishna's mouth, inside Krishna's mouth. So Krishna has gigantic features that all the universes come out of his skin pores, like Mahavishnu, right? Mahavishnu, all the universes come out of his skin pores. So those universes are all inside his body. And when he breathes out, they come out of his body. And when he breathes in, they go back into his body. So that's the vision of a yogi, sees that God is so great that even the universes are within him. So everything is in him. And the yogi also sees that the Lord distributes himself all over the universe, even within the atom. And that feature is the Paramatma, or the Supersoul. So that's that, and that feature, the Lord is within our hearts and the hearts of all the other species, and even within the atoms, even within matter, the Supersoul is there. So very gigantic forms and very small forms. And then the yogi also sees that, he also, because of seeing like that everything is within Krishna, Krishna is within everything, then Krishna's never lost to him, and he's never lost to Krishna. So that's what we were talking about before. Such a loving, intimate relationship between the devotee and the Lord, because the devotee sees like that and always thinking about the Lord. Therefore, not only the devotee has love for the Lord, but the Lord has love for the devotee. So we're talking about how it's a two-way relationship, love, obviously, not one way, it's two ways. So the devotee loves the Lord, and he's always seeing him everywhere and thinking about him all the time. And the Lord also is always thinking about the devotee and loves the devotee so much. So very sweet, intimate relationship. That was in text 30. And then, so such a yogi. So such a yogi that always sees everything within God and God within everything, and who has a very intimate, loving relationship with the Lord and never feels separated from the Lord. So someone like this is never going to think, alone, never going to feel like alone, or never going to feel separated from God, is always going to feel God's presence everywhere. Even during the darkest hour of COVID, then the devotees always feels his Lord's presence. And the devotee would think, well, this is all Krishna's arrangement to help us become more Krishna conscious. So many things like that. He'd always see everything in connection to Krishna. The devotee thinks that when the devotee is suffering, this is a pure devotee, when they suffer, they think that I deserve more worse. But Krishna is so kind that he's minimized my suffering. Like I've told you before, when my friend had the end of his finger cut off, he told me in the ambulance that I deserved to have my whole arm cut off, but Krishna is so kind, he just took the tip off my finger. So that's a very special way of thinking. Not many people would think like that. But in that way, even at that time, difficult time, he was happy, thinking that he deserved more suffering, but Krishna has reduced it. And when a devotee is happy, he thinks, I don't deserve this happiness. I'm such a rotten, bad person. I don't deserve this happiness. Krishna's so kind. He's giving me so much, good situation. Like that, I don't deserve it. And that way, the devotee is always happy when he's And a good situation is happy, and a bad situation is happy, is always remembering the Lord in every case. You know. Does anyone want to say anything so far? It's all good?
All good.
So we might not be at that level, of course. Sometimes we may feel lonely, or we may feel distressed or whatever. Sometimes when we get really happy, we might forget God. Well, see, that's also dangerous. So, you know, that can be even more worse, you know, because often when we're suffering, everyone remembers God. Usually most people remember God when they're suffering, but not many people remember God when they're happy. So we have to be careful about that too. So, but that's a sign of it more advanced, that even when we're happy, we remember the Lord, you know. Imagine if we won lotto, would you still remember Krishna? You know, so that's a big test. That's a big test. So that's why we have to continue our practice of Krishna consciousness. Try to nicely chant the holy name and hear about Krishna and do some service to try to purify our hearts, so that we can develop this spiritual vision more and more, and that will help us to overcome all these obstacles in life. Okay, so such a yogi, he always sees the Lord everywhere and loves the Lord, who engages in the worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. So that's an important point in this verse, is that Krishna and the super soul are not different. They're identical. So we shouldn't think that they're different. They're different features of God, but they're both God. There's three aspects of God, which we've talked about. Do you know what the three aspects of God are? So two of them are here. There's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Sanskrit, that's Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then there's a super soul, which is known as Paramatma. What's the third aspect of God? This is the complete picture of what God is.
Not all pervading.
Yeah, that's it, Bob. You hit it on the head. That's yes, very good. Congratulations. The all-pervading aspect. What's that called in Sanskrit? That's the next question. The all-pervading aspect. What's that called in Sanskrit? So the Supreme Person in Sanskrit, that's Bhagavan. The Super Soul in Sanskrit is Paramatma. And the all-pervading aspect in Sanskrit is Brahman. We'll say that. Everyone say that. Brahman. Brahman. So Brahman is that all-pervading spiritual light, that spiritual radiance. That's Brahman. So Brahman, and Brahman. So these are different aspects of the same God. Just like there's only one sun, right? It's one subject, the sun. But there's three aspects of the sun. You know what the three aspects of the sun are? And they're not three different things. It's one thing, but with three aspects. One object with three aspects. So what are the three aspects of the sun?
Is it the heat? The light?
The heat, that comes from the sunlight, yeah. So that's another division of the one aspect. So from the sunlight, heat and light are there. It comes from the sunlight. So the sunlight is one aspect. So what are the other two aspects of the sun? Have to churn the brain cells, get the cogs going.
The sun god and the sun.
Yeah, very good. The sun god.
And the globe.
Yep. And the globe, the planet.
Yes.
So the sun is one object, one subject, but three different aspects of it. So there's the all-pervading sunlight, which is everywhere. There's the fixed globe in the sky. It's just in one place. The sunlight is everywhere, but the sun globe is not everywhere. The sun globe is in one place. And then within the sun globe, there's a controller named Vivashvan, or Suryadev. He has many names. The controller of the sun god. So in the same way, God is one entity, but with three different aspects. So the supreme controller, compared to the sun god, is Krishna, the supreme person. The sun god is a person, and Krishna is also a person. But see, Krishna is even the controller of the sun god. See, the sun god is a controller of the sun, but he's not the controller of everything. There's a moon god. There's a person that controls the moon, but he's not the controller of everything. There's a person that controls the water, the sky, the air, like that. But they're not the controllers of everything. But Krishna is everyone's boss. He's the boss of all the bosses. There's the invocation verse in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiyadivo. That there are many controllers. Ishvaras. Ishvara is the word for controller. There's 33 million Ishvaras, 33 million demigods. Demi means like half. They're small gods. But Krishna is Ishvara Parama God. He's the supreme controller. So many controllers, like the sun god, but he's not the supreme controller. Krishna is the supreme controller. And this is where many Hindus have a problem. They're not sure who the supreme controller is. So most Hindus, what do, Gulshan?
They just praying the demigods, and with their in that own temple where they praying the generations, but they don't realize that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead.
Yeah,
and that's
so they're not sure. They're not sure who the ultimate controller is. So what do? For them, who's God?
Well, the demigod is the god. That's what they believe.
Yeah, so they're all God.
Yeah.
So with less knowledge, with not complete knowledge, they just say everyone's God. We're not exactly sure who the supreme is, so we'll just say everyone's God. So for them, that the sun god is God, and Shiva is God, and Durga is God, and Ganesh is God, and everyone's God. But it's not exactly like that. So they're all powerful controllers, but there is a supreme. Just like you have in Australia, you have Minister of Education. He's a controller. Minister of Social Welfare, Minister of Education, whatever like that. So many ministers, but there's one Prime Minister. So that's the same situation in the universe. There's many like that ministers, but one Prime Minister, one supreme.
But in a government, the Prime Minister changes, but in Supreme Personality, God doesn't change.
So that's the difference. It's not a perfect example. It's a material example. But, our controllers are not perfect. But the supreme controller, he's perfect, and his position is fixed. It's not a changeable position. Not a changeable position, yeah. So Krishna is the supreme controller. But he has these different aspects, the super soul in everyone's heart, and then the all-pervading light, Brahman. So the yogi, he sees there's fundamentally, there's no difference between the supreme person and the super soul in everyone's heart. So what that's indicating, because that's saying here that he serves the super soul. So if you serve the super soul, then what does that mean in terms of Krishna? If you serve the super soul, are you serving Krishna, or you're not serving Krishna?
You are.
You are, because that's what this verse is saying. Knowing that I and the super soul are one. So that means if you render service to the super soul, automatically included within that, you've served Krishna. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That you've included within that, you've served Krishna. So there's no difference between Krishna and the super soul. And if you serve the super soul,
So can I just
Krishna.
ask a question there?
Yeah.
So when you say serve the super soul, could you say you serve the Paramatma?
Yeah, because that's just different
Same.
languages. So different languages. So super soul is English, Paramatma is Sanskrit, but you're talking about the same thing. Yeah, the super soul, the Paramatma. And the question is, well, how do you serve a super soul? Because you can't even serve the you can't even see the super soul with your eyes. And can you give the super soul a glass of water? Can you give the super soul a massage?
Of
What
course
do
can.
you give some money to the super soul?
You can see super soul in everywhere. Krishna is
Yeah, so
everywhere.
So through the philosophy of the Vedas, we know what the super soul looks like. It's explained there, just like Krishna's form, except that the super soul has how many arms?
4.
4. So Krishna has 2 arms, super soul has 4 arms. And it's explained in the Vedas exactly what he looks like, right from his toes up to his head. So like in his 4 arms, one arm he carries...
Sudarshan Chakra.
Yeah, Sudarshan Chakra, another one?
Gada.
Gada.
And one is in the conch shell.
Conch shell. Yep, the other arm.
One is leave it for the stretching.
And then there's the club. Did you say the club? You said the club?
Yeah.
Yeah, the club, the conch shell, which is shank. Then there's chakra, the disc. And then we said the conch shell, the lotus. Yep. So that's all of them. So he carries these different things. So the yogi is meditating on the beautiful form of the super soul, and that's also service. Don't think service just means like washing pots, cleaning the floor, cooking, whatever like that, chanting, in terms of things you have to do with your body, but also with your mind. You can serve with your mind, and the mind can think about some particular object, and that thinking about the Lord, like thinking about the super soul or thinking about Krishna, that's also service. So even like I might be physically be really sick, or I might be incapacitated, I can't do any physical work, but that doesn't mean you can't do any service for God, because God's in our heart, and you can think about him, and he's in other people's hearts also, and you can think about that beautiful form of the Lord. So even if you think about God's beautiful form, that is service. The Lord's pleased by that. So what is service? Service is something that's favorable to the person. See, that's one criteria of devotional service. It has to be pleasing to Krishna, what Krishna wants. If you do something for Krishna that he doesn't want, can you call that service?
No.
Like if I come up to you and try to serve you a plate of meat, is that service?
No.
No, because you don't like it. That service should be according to what you like, what's favorable to you, what's pleasing to you. So if you do something that's pleasing or favorable to Krishna, then that's service. And to think about him and meditate on his beautiful form, his names, his qualities, his pastimes, he likes that. That's favorable to Krishna, and that's pleasing to Krishna. So that's service. And if your attitude, the other feature that has to be there in order for it to be devotional service, is the attitude should be favorable. So you should be doing something that Krishna likes, and your attitude should be favorable. I'll give you an example of that. Like Kamsa was always thinking about Krishna. But what was his attitude like?
He wanted to be God, didn't he?
Well, not exactly. I mean, yes, he did. He was wanting to control everything. And in order to control everything, what did he want to do to Krishna? He wanted to kill Krishna.
Yeah.
Because it was predicted that
Krishna will kill him.
that the eighth child of his sister, who was Krishna, would kill him. So he was always thinking, let me kill Krishna before he kills me. That was his thinking. But he was always thinking about Krishna. But so that's good that he's always thinking about Krishna. But his attitude was not favorable because he didn't want to, he wasn't thinking about Krishna to please Krishna. He was thinking about Krishna for the purpose of killing Krishna. Where is Krishna? I want to kill him. Not where is Krishna? I want to love him. But where is Krishna? I want to kill him. You know, so that's not service. So two criteria in order for it to be regarded as devotional service. What are they? What are the two criteria? In order for it to be bhakti or service,
Chant.
devotional service. No, that's there. But no, what have we just talked about? The two criteria in order for what you're doing to be regarded as a service, a devotional service. What are the two criteria?
Doing something Krishna likes.
Doing something Krishna likes, yeah. Favorable to Krishna, yeah.
And what was the other one?
Attitude.
Right attitude.
Attitude.
Yeah, and the attitude. Your attitude should be favorable to Krishna. You want to please Krishna. You want to love Krishna. You're not thinking about Krishna with hatred or envy, or you want to kill him. No, but you're thinking about him because you want to serve him, because you want to love him. So with the super soul, how you can serve the super soul, how is that possible? It's possible by the main way that the yogis follow is by just thinking about his beautiful form. So that's when the Vedas talks about meditation, uses the word meditation, that's what it's referring to. They're meditating on the form of the super soul in the heart. They're meditating on the form of the super soul in their own heart. That is meditation. Meditation does not mean whatever you want it to mean. Oh, I think meditation means visualizing candles, visualizing your heartbeat, or, you know, moving up from your toes and thinking then about your ankles, then thinking about your knees, thinking about your groin, thinking about your stomach, thinking about your chest, thinking about your breathing, thinking about your head. You know, people say meditation means many things, you know, just thinking about many things. But when the Vedas talks about meditation, it's actually referring to meditating on one thing, and that's the beautiful form of God in the heart, the Paramatma. So that's what it means by meditation. And that meditation is also service. So physically at that time, they're sitting down probably cross-legged in the forest. They're not doing anything. If you went up to their body, you'd probably get no response, not even a hello, how are you, or anything like that. Because they're in samadhi, means they're in a trance-like state. They're not even conscious of anything external. They've cut off from the external world, and their mind is active. So their mind is active. So they're active, but active inside. So you can be active outside, but you can also be active inside. See, the yogi is more active inside, whereas a materialistic person, there's not much going on, you know, inside, except for material desires, but there's a lot happening outside, you know, running around here and there. But the yogi, the devotee, is more active inside, you know, it's more active inside. Let's have a look. There's a verse about that. Let's see if I can remember where it is. It's in the 5th chapter. In the 5th chapter. Yeah, text 21. We'll start with that one, and there's another one. 5th chapter, text 21.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoy unlimited happiness for the concentrates on the supreme.
Yeah, so this is the liberated yogi, devotee. They're always in trance. So that means that they're withdrawn from this external sense pleasure and they're focused inwardly. What is that? You know, concentrating on the Supreme. So that's Paramatma, that's Bhagavan Krishna. So they're concentrating on Krishna or concentrating on the Super Soul, and they're getting so much pleasure from that, and they're withdrawn from all the external sense pleasure. So that means, see, they're enjoying the pleasure within. So there's vast pleasure available. So then the next question is, well, why do that? You know, just look towards the super soul within, because there's more pleasure. There's far more pleasure. You know, how much pleasure you can get from eating an ice cream, you know, or having a good meal at a restaurant or having sex or whatever it is. Compare that to the pleasure of meditating and seeing God within your heart. You know, compare those and you would find that there's far, far more pleasure. You almost can't compare. There's so much more pleasure from seeing God in your heart than there is from any external enjoyments. So they're not meditating because they're stupid. They're meditating because they know where the real happiness is. We're the ones that are stupid because we just settle for such small amount of happiness. Oh, I got $50 today. I'm so happy. You know, it's such small things. And then we squeeze a bit of happiness out of small things. I had a really yummy, you know, mince pie or whatever, you know, so some small thing, but that's like the insignificant happiness. The yogi is experiencing so much more happiness from their relationship with God. And we've explained it before, like how devotees like Prabhupada, tears come out of their eyes sideways. I mean, I still can't conceive of how happy he must be feeling, you know, for the tears to come out sideways. And there's many historic incidences of devotees where they like fall down unconscious on the ground in bliss, or, you know, all their hairs stand up, their voice chokes up. So many ecstasies from their relationship with the Lord. So it's far, far greater. That's the beauty of spiritual life. And there's one more. Yeah, text 24. The same chapter, so just go ahead a few pages. 24 and 25, we'll just read those two. So you can take turns. Bob can read one, Gulshan can read one. Same
Bob
chapter, 5.
Bob, read in Sanskrit, please.
No. This is fine.
24, 25, you said?
Yes.
Right up. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
Hey, Gulshan, next one.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sin, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Bhakti Mala, so we just skipped forward a few pages in the 5th chapter to text 24 and 25, which talk about happiness within.
Yeah, I could hear you. Sorry, I was.
Oh, you heard it. Okay, cool.
Sorry.
So that's a very important part of our Krishna consciousness. We have to learn that, how to become more happy from inside. Because, you know, what we're coming from is a culture where you have to get happiness from outside. But that's very problematic. Very problematic. And that is summed up also in this chapter, text 21. What's the problem with the external happiness, the happiness from outside? is in text 21. Does anyone know what the problem with getting happiness from outside is?
Because
It
that
doesn't
happiness is
last.
limited.
Yeah, it's limited. It doesn't last.
It doesn't last.
And it actually is the cause of our misery. Those temporary pleasures actually are the cause of our suffering. So not only is it temporary, but it's lining us up for suffering. Like, for example, say I meet some beautiful woman or whatever like that, and there's immediately there's a sense of happiness there, some enjoyment is there for the senses, but then it doesn't last. But then by that time I've got attached. And then when that relationship is broken or whatever, then your heart is like burning. Your heart is on fire. So it's like that with anything. You get a fantastic job, but then there's a nasty person in that work environment that becomes your bitter enemy, and it ends up, that you lose your job or you run away or whatever because it's so bitter like that, or you gets a lot of money, but then you misuse that money, and and you become a drunkard, a womanizer, like that. So many things. There's so many stories about they've traced the lives of people after they win lotto, and in almost every case, if you go down the track after someone wins that big amount of money, their lives become so miserable. If they were married, they get divorced, if their kids become spoiled brats, and they have to change their name, change the address, change the phone number, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry says, oh, can you lend me some money? Oh, you got so much money, can you give me some? They don't have any peace day or night, just the whole life becomes just horrible.
There is one lady in America. She won $28 million a lotto, the lottery. And in America, the law is if you win the lottery, like big amount, you have to be claim as legally you have to be on the light. You cannot hide. So she didn't take the money. She said that if I do get the money, and then I'll be in trouble. So she didn't take the money. She said, I don't want to be in the light.
Yeah, so there's many problems with happiness from outside, apart from it just being temporary, but it causes us so much suffering. And like one example, right? We enjoy with the tongue, right? We eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. We just passed through the holiday season. People eat more at Christmas time and New Year, and they drink. So they're drinking and eating all their roasts and pork and what is it? In America, they eat the turkeys, right? They eat turkeys at Thanksgiving or whatever like that. So, but then afterwards, what happens? You become overweight, and then it puts pressure on your heart, and your arteries get clogged up with cholesterol if you eat too much and everything, and then you have a heart attack, or you get diabetes. So you see what I mean? That's, you start off a little bit of enjoyment, the tongue is enjoying, but then later on what happens? You have heart attack, you have diabetes, you have cholesterol, you have to go to the doctors, you have medication. So, so many things. So it's not good. The results of external pleasure is not good. But internal pleasure, it's like this verses we read, it's unlimited. It's unlimited. The pleasure from within is unlimited. It just gets better and better. It doesn't have a beginning and end. It just gets better and better. It's unlimited. There's no suffering as a result of it. It's just the more we develop our relationship with God within our hearts, then it's just such a positive alternative. Such a positive alternative. So for us, what are some ways we can get that internal happiness and active within? So for what would you say in your lives, what you could do to be active within? What would that mean to you?
You mean Do you mean like chanting, kirtan,
Well, chanting,
that sort of thing?
yeah. I mean, chanting in one sense is active outside, isn't it? Because you're moving your tongue and you're using your ears. You're chanting with your tongue and you're hearing with your ears. So that's sort of active with the senses. But then from that external activity, how does it connect with the internal?
I think it brings you closer to Krishna, very calming, very satisfying.
Okay, calming and satisfying for what?
To the heart, the soul, the mind.
Yep, okay, the mind. Yes, yes, yes. So the mind, that's where we're talking about active within, enjoying within. That's the mind and the soul.
One thing I've been trying to do, and I started a while ago, but then my mind took over again. But I've started again, and I know you're always supposed to learn verses in Sanskrit. Well, I'm really bad at Sanskrit, so
Yes.
I just try and remember the translation. And so in the times when my mind would just be thinking stupid things, I've been trying to learn the some verses like over and just try and remember them, and the numbers and things.
Yeah.
But that's sort of internal, I guess.
Yeah, that's internal, the mind, where so you're trying to remember God, remember God's words, like the verses, Bhakti Mala's learning verses. These are God's words. So you're trying to remember God's words. You're trying to remember God's form. You're thinking about God's form. You're remembering God's names, like that, God's pastimes. You're thinking about when Krishna lifted the mountain. You're thinking about when Krishna was stealing butter and feeding it to the monkeys. You're thinking about, what you heard from your spiritual master, from the devotees. So there's some remembrance, some thinking related to Krishna. So that's active within. That's active within. And that's the background behind the devotee's external activity. Like Prabhupada was very active externally. He traveled around the world so many times. But what's behind that? What do you think? What
Well,
was
he was doing
behind?
everything for Krishna.
What's that?
He was doing everything for Krishna.
Yeah, he was traveling around to spread Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of Krishna. And also for the pleasure of all of us, for all the souls, that he saw that the souls were suffering without Krishna consciousness, and he wanted to help them to become happy by giving them Krishna consciousness. So he was thinking along those lines. And what else was he thinking? That my guru has ordered me to go to the West and spread Krishna consciousness in the English language, teach in the English language. So he was thinking about his guru. He's thinking about this will please Krishna. He's thinking about this will make all the miserable souls happy again. So there's a lot of thinking going on, which is all internal, of course. The mind is not outside. Like the tongue is outside, the nose, but the mind is also a sense, but it's inside. And not only the legs are active, the hands are active, but the mind also is very active, but it's active inside. Do you understand that? So when the mind's working, that's also activity. It's not that only the hands and legs is the only activity, that the mind is not an activity. No, when the mind is working, that's also activity, but it's internal activity. You understand? Does that make sense?
Yep, very much.
Yep. So the mind is also a sense, but it's an internal sense. And the activity for the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. Three things. The mind is, activity of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. So all we've got to do, the mind is active now, but it's all usually connected with sense gratification. You're thinking about enjoying the tongue, I'm going to go and eat at this restaurant. You're thinking about, I'm going to have sex with this person. You're thinking about, I'm going to make lots of money and become rich and famous, like that. So you're thinking about, I got to become CEO of this company or whatever like that. You're thinking, I don't like this person, I hate this person. Or you're thinking, I love this person, whatever like that. So thinking is going on, but it's about material things. And feeling, and then there's so much feeling. Oh, it's so hot now. If I have this ice cream and fizzy drink, it's going to feel so good. It's going to feel so good on my throat and my stomach and everything. If I sit under this fan and turn on the AC, I'm going to feel so good. So it's all regards to the body. And then willing, so once you've got to the point where, wow, yeah, it's going to feel so good if I have this ice cream, then you go to your mind wills, yes, I'm going to go and buy it. So then your body becomes active. Then you move, you get your money, get in the car, get your keys, go down to the shop and you buy the ice cream. But you got to think, there's a lot that happened before you went and bought the ice cream. Do you see that now?
Yep.
It didn't start with buying the ice cream. It started when you thought about it. When the thought of ice cream came in your mind, then you felt how good it would feel, that when you're eating it, how good it will feel. And then you made the determination, the will, I'm going to go and buy it. I need this ice cream. I have to get it, and then the body starts to move. But before the body starts to move, there's a lot that went on in the mind. So that's where we want to use the mind. Instead of for our own enjoyment, we want to use it for Krishna's pleasure. And that's being spiritually active within.
So much talk of ice cream, though. Like, I wouldn't mind ice cream now.
Oh, now I've got you thinking about ice cream.
No.
I just think, we have to offer it to Krishna.
I'm only
You have to Krishnaize it. You have to Krishnaize it. Yeah, so for us, being active within is thinking about Krishna. Something in terms with, or the mission of Krishna, like spreading Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, Prabhupada would be brilliant at, like, anyone could ask him a question and he would just fire off the answer just straight away. And devotees were amazed. How did you do that? How did you just immediately give him the perfect answer? And Prabhupada said, don't think it comes automatically. I am thinking all the time how to defeat all these opposing philosophies to Krishna consciousness. I am thinking all the time how to defeat these atheistic arguments of the scientists and the philosophers and these pseudo-religionists and all these bogus yogis and everything. So Prabhupada was always active within, thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness, what's the best way to spread Krishna consciousness in the West, how to deal with all these opposing arguments and opposing people, everything like that. He was always thinking of it. And so not only he's thinking about Krishna playing the flute, but he's thinking how he can serve Krishna better. Like, for example, Gulshan could be thinking all the time, how can we bring more people into the bhakti tree? How we can make the prasadam more tasty to attract people to Krishna? How we can present, the Krishna consciousness in a more attractive way to the Australian mentality, like that. That's what I was doing, things like that. And, at the farm, Bhakti Mala can be thinking, how can I dress Jagannath Baladev Subhadra more beautifully and be more efficient with my time so that I can, dress them nicely within the time period. I have to become more, savvy with my time and efficient. And how can I put those things in the turban better, and put the nice necklaces on, and how can I arrange them and make a nice garland that matches it and everything. And and Bob can be thinking about how I can help devotees with their health. They eat too much paneer and too much oil and deep fried, and how I can help them, and they're too stiff. How I can help the devotees to be more healthier, they can live a longer life and serve Krishna better. So I mean, in any way we can be just connect our thinking to the Lord, and it becomes service. And you can also think about Krishna's beautiful form, that he's a beautiful Sham Sundar, beautiful bluish color like a dark rain cloud, and he's attracting everyone with all the gopis and everyone with playing his flute. So you can think all sorts of things. I like making sweets. I mean, I like cooking, but especially I like making sweets. And I like making sweets from milk products. So I could be thinking, this is just an example, I'm not doing it all the time, but I could be thinking about, I wish I could make some sweets for Krishna, like assist Mother Yashoda and assist Radharani, and make some burfi and laddu and some sweet rice, and assist them in cooking, like that. You can meditate on all kinds of things. It's unlimited, really. So you can think about so many things in regards to Krishna's service. The book distributor is thinking, how can I distribute more books? How can I get more books to more people like that? Like I know I mentioned one guy, he distributed 1,400 and something books in one day. So I bet you it didn't happen automatically. He was thinking a lot. He actually came up with these plans of like gift wrapping the books. Like he would put like a ribbon around a stack of books, like one Bhagavad Gita, one Krishna book, one Nectar of Devotion, one of the Science of Self-Realization, like that, like 8 books, and he would gift wrap it, like put ribbon around both ways, and he would present it like a gift package. They could give it to someone else, or it's like a gift to them, and and in a way, thinking about how to distribute more books, because otherwise you distribute one book at a time. It takes a hell of a long time to distribute a lot of books. But imagine one person, you give them 10 books, then suddenly you can distribute a huge amount of books. Instead of giving one at a time, you give 10 at a time. So he would be giving 10, 20 books to one person. And that way he distributed 1,400 books in one day. And that's selling them. People gave him money for that. So but there's a lot of thinking going on, but it's in relation to Krishna. And that spiritualizes the thinking process. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone want to say anything about that? Okay, so let's read the purport. So, Gulshan, you want to start reading? So we're back to 631 again. We'll read the purport.
Yep. A yogi who is practicing meditation on the super soul sees within himself the plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu, with 4 hands holding conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. The yogi should know the Vishnu is not different from Krishna. Krishna, in this form of super soul, is situated in everyone's heart. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable super soul present in the innumerable heart of the living entity. Nor is there a difference between a Krishna conscious person always engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation on the super soul. The yogi in Krishna consciousness, ever though he may be engaged in various activities while in material existence, remain always situated in Krishna. This is confirmed in Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu 1.2, 1.87 of Srila Rupa Goswami,
Nikhilesh Vapyavasta Su Jivan Mukta Suvichate.
A devotee of Lord, always acting in Krishna consciousness, is automatically liberated in the Narada
Pancharatra.
This is confirmed in this ways.
Don't have to say the Sanskrit, just English.
Okay, by concentrating one's attention in the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all-pervading and beyond time and space, one become absorbed in thinking of Krishna and then attain the happy state of transcendental association with him. Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of trance in yoga practice. This very understanding that Krishna is present at Paramatma in everyone's heart makes the yogi faultless. The Vedas, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.21 confirm that inconceivable potency of Lord as follows: Ekopi san bahudha yo vidhati. Although the Lord is one, he is present in innumerable heart as many. Similarly, in the Samriti Sanstra in the side.
Just the English, yeah.
Okay, Vishnu is one, and yet he is certainly all-pervading by his conceivable potency. In spite of his one form, he is present everywhere, as the sun appears in many places at once. Ishwar Sarva Bhutanam.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Yes, so the very important point is that we've been talking about thinking about Krishna or thinking about the super soul, which is non-different. That by thinking about them, you're actually associating with them. That's very important to understand. That just by thinking about God, you're actually associating with God. Just like by chanting God's names, you're associating with God. By hearing about God, you're associating with God. By tasting God's food, you're associating with God. So just like all those other ways, it's also by thinking about God. God is with us. And of course, if God is with us, what's going to happen to us? If God is with us, what's going to happen to us?
Failure is not an option.
What's that?
Failure is not an option.
Failure
is not an option. We'll succeed.
Not an option. Yep, true. Yep, so we'll become successful in our endeavors. Also, whatever contamination or impurities are there within our hearts, lust, greed, and anger, and so forth, it's all going to be cleared out. All the contamination is going to get cleared out because we're going to get purified. So if we remember the Lord is with us, then by his presence, his association, we're going to become cleaner. We're going to become purified. He's the supreme pure. He's the supreme pure. That's one of Arjuna's realizations in 10th chapter, text number 12 to 13, that you are the supreme purist. So if we get his association by thinking about him, by chanting about him, by hearing about him, then that's going to purify us. But that's how the devotee becomes purified, because actually we're associating with God. You know, like, how does the chanting work on us? It's because when you chant God's names, God's with you, and you become purified when you chant his names. So the same way, if you're thinking about him all the time, you know, when you're cleaning the floor or cooking, washing pots or doing gardening or whatever your work is in the office, in the factory, if you think about him, you're going to become purified. And also by thinking about him, because God's nature is always happy. So if you think about someone that's always happy, what effect do you think that's going to have on you?
Happy, always happy then.
You're always going to be happy. Yeah. If you think about someone that's always happy, means happy thoughts, then it means you're going to be happy. If you think about your own body all the time, how are you going to feel? Because the body's always suffering, right? Oh, my backache, or my headache, my stomach ache, my eyes are sore now, my skin rash, I have a rash, or I cut my hand. If you're going to think about your body, you're going to become miserable. But if you think about Krishna's body, Yeah, if you think about Krishna's body, then his nature is bliss. His body is bliss. His form is bliss. His nature is just bliss, always happy. Have you ever heard of Krishna being depressed or morose?
No.
No, he's always happy. So if you always think about him, you're always going to become happy too. So these are some of the secrets of Krishna consciousness. If you think about Krishna, you're actually invoking Krishna's presence in your life. So Krishna's always going to be with you. And the more Krishna's with you means any bad thing, rotten thing, inauspicious thing is going to go away. And gradually your life is going to become better and better and more auspicious and more happy and more good. And also his nature is always blissful, happy. And if you're thinking about that, you're also going to be, by associating with that, those thoughts. You know, people talk about positive thinking, right? So what more positive thinking can you get than think about God? That's the ultimate in positive thinking, you know. That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. And Prabhupada's saying here there's no difference between Vishnu and Krishna. So because the super soul in the heart is Vishnu. That four-arm form is Vishnu. So Prabhupada's made that point in this purport. There's no difference between Vishnu and Krishna. So the super soul is also known as Vishnu. The technical name is called Saradakashai Vishnu. That's the technical name for the Paramatma, the super soul, Saradakashai Vishnu, the super soul in the heart. And but there's no difference between that super soul Vishnu and Krishna. So the yogis meditate on Vishnu and we meditate on Krishna, but there's no difference. And everyone can become blissful and happy and purified by remembering the super soul of Krishna. And yeah, because I got friends here, I've got to keep it shorter today, unfortunately. And so has anyone got any comments or any questions or something you're not sure about, or some inspiration you want to share?
No,
From
not this end. It was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all right. That's all right.
Thank you.
And we should understand that Krishna's our best friend, that no one loves us more than Krishna, because he comes with us, you know, wherever we go in this material world. You know, we have to understand we've been millions of lifetimes in this material world. If you got the human form of life, there's a good chance that you've been through all the lower species to get to this point. This is like the pinnacle. So we've been in, you know, aquatic bodies and bird bodies and plant bodies, animal bodies, insect bodies, everything to get here. So, and who's been with us? Only one person has stayed with us through that whole journey, and that's only Vishnu, who is, like we said, identical with Krishna. So only he stayed with us in some rotten form of some cockroach or bug, or, you know, some pig or like that, you know, so all just abominable forms. But Krishna is so tolerant and so compassionate that he stayed with us. Why has he come with us all those times? What does he get out of it? What does he get out of traveling with us and hanging out, watching us eat rotten things and do rotten things and say rotten things? What does he get out of it?
Well, the fact that he loves us and cares for us.
Yeah, it's nothing. He doesn't get anything out of it other than he just loves us. So it's only for our benefit, not for his benefit. He's enjoying in the spiritual world. What does he need to come here for and hang out with souls in the body of a pig or a cockroach? You know, it's not for his benefit, not for his gain. It's for our benefit. And why does he stay with us during that period then? What's the purpose
apart
of him
from the
being
fact
with us?
he cares for us.
Well, he cares for us, and how is that care being demonstrated? Well, like, what is he actually doing in that and staying with us in the same body that we're in, right next to us in the heart. What is he actually doing there?
Do you mean
Because
in the
love is
way
a
of
doing word,
protecting
right?
us?
Love is a doing word. It's not just saying, oh, I love you, Bob, but I never do anything for you.
He's
But then
waiting
what kind of
for
love
us-
is that?
Yeah.
So what is he actually doing for us?
He's waiting for us to turn to him.
Yeah, he's patiently waiting for us to turn around towards him, to come back to accepting him as our friend and loving him and serving him. So he's waiting for that patiently, life after life. But practically also, what is he doing to help us exist in this material world? Because it's not a normal kind of situation. We're an eternal soul and we're stuck in this material body. Can we just operate this material body by ourselves? Is any one of you aware now of you operating the body? Like, are you guys operating your eyes and your ears and your tongue and your digestion? Gulshan, are you telling your digestion, please turn on now? I'm sending some food down there.
No.
Please turn on. I'm going to bed now. You can turn it off now. Okay, I'm going to swallow some water now. Now you're going to assimilate this water. So are you all operating your bodies?
No.
Who's doing that?
Krishna.
For me to do this, am I doing this?
No.
No, I desire, but who's actually arranging it?
Krishna.
That's Vishnu.
Krishna.
That's the super
Vishnu.
soul. So think about that. Talk about thinking, being within. Think about what Vishnu, what Krishna's doing for us. You think about how a bird is born on an island. It's never been anywhere in its life except for that island. At a certain seasonal change, all the
I think we've
Frozen.
lost you, Abhay.
Frozen. I can't hear
Can
you.
anyone
birds
hear
take
Abhay?
off in a certain direction. They've never been off in life, but they go to a particular place where they'll have the mating season or some food waiting for them or whatever like that. How do they know how to get there?
Fill in the blanks.
Frozen? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, that must mean my time's up. Still frozen? Still blank.